So this is Storrs Drive. This is the back entrance of the park. Here's the trailhead. There's a little dog walking sign. There's parking for about 3 vehicles. It's not very big. And it's right across from the warehouse where they store all of the archaeological finds. So let's hit the trail. It's such a pretty little jumping in point. Just a pretty little walk in the woods. Crunching leaves. It gets pretty rooty right here. So you sort of have to watch your step. Okay, the first intersection you come to, you're going to see the sign for the Butler Mill Trail. This to the side is just a path that other hikers have carved out to get close to the creek, to do a little playing in the creek, or let their dogs cool down a little bit. But it's really, really rooty, so you'll be very careful and watch your steps. Butler Mill Trail. So we're on the property of Colonel Robert Butler, who was born in 1786 and died in 1860. He was Florida's first survey general, and I'll explain a little bit about that a little bit. So we're on what would have been his property. He owned about 900 acres here in Leon County. When Florida first became a state. It became a state in 1845. Okay, so you come up to another intersection. If you go to the right, it will take you to a really pretty little bridge, and we're going to go on that bridge. That's where we're going to end up. But for now, we're going to go ahead and start taking the dam trail. There's a sign that says that the trail has been washed out and that you've got to come back the same way that you go in. Now, there aren't any signs, saying no trespassing or, trail closed or whatever. It seems to me, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, but it seems to me they say that for liability issues, they don't want anyone getting hurt or whatever. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Okay, so at this point, you're going to notice that you're on a very steep, what looks like a ravine, right? But the creek is pretty far away. It's kind of hard to tell on my camera and stuff, but that's the creek. And what you've got is this almost bowl-shaped area. And it's my theory. I don't know if it looks to me, a lot of things on Google say this is man-made. That this was a dam of some sort or a levee. I don't know if it was built by the Native Americans, the Mississippian culture tribe, or if it was built by Robert Butler. But my theory, it's just my theory, I don't know if it's right. My theory is this was built by Robert Butler. It was just too perfect to be nature-made. It looks like a man-made thing. And that what we're looking at here, would have been the mill pond. This is just my working theory here. To build up a little extra water source to power the mill, the grist mill. So he owned a grist mill, and grist mills produce either cornmeal or flour And it's done. That's one of the first obstacles you have, is climbing over that log. It's done by the water wheel moves the water through, and that energy moves other gears and grinds two, well, you can't see what I'm doing with my hands, can you? Two millstones. There's a top one and a bottom one. There's the bedrock and then the top one. And so they would put the grain in between those two millstones, which, by the way, they were found, but I don't know where they are. I don't know where they're housed. Maybe in that warehouse back there. And grind the grain, and it would come out of a chute. And it would just be a bunch of flour or cornmeal or whatever they were producing. So here's where the creek, you start to see a little bit of the creek. And it's a sweet little creek. I imagine at one point that it was more of a river than a creek. But erosion has done a number on this trail. Okay, so here's the gate where I think you're supposed to stop. But like I said, there's no sign saying that you can't move forward. So it does get a little tricky from this point on. But nothing that's not manageable, in my opinion. Kind of makes it more fun, gives you a few obstacles. Okay, so here's the first obstacle. You got to go under this. There's this down tree here. It's a huge tree, but it's definitely crossable. Whew, you gotta parkour a little bit. Parkour! And we're still on the damn wall. They have it's an interactive trail, so they have fun little educational things. But it's always about, the naturally occurring things, like the ferns, and here's the steep head ravine. I wish they had more, about the history. Here's the ravine, I don't know if you can see it. But it's pretty steep out there. And here's where the trail used to be. If you look over there, that's where it crossed. I think there was a bridge of some sort, because you can see some beams there. But this tree completely uprooted. And you look over here across the way, and you see it looks like there was a bridge there at some point, and that's what got washed out. So you do have to cross. They have put a little homemade bridge here, but it's easy. You get that little tree to hold on to as you cross. No biggie. Then you climb up this hill, and you can see a better idea of where the trail washed out. You see that? Like where the little bridge was that took you across the way. Okay, we're approaching the mill ruins themselves. It's just the thing about the southern magnolia. If you look across the way, you can see the little viewing area. If you didn't take this trail, there's an easier little path to take to get to that area, so you can see the mill ruins. So this is it, and this is what we're going to climb. Not climb. We're going to hike the ledge of the ruins. As you do, you can see the little creek over here. There's a mini slot canyon down there that makes the coolest little noise. It's very peaceful up here. Okay. It's kind of a steep little ledge here, so you gotta be careful. But so you see there's one beam coming from the earth right here. That just doesn't happen in nature. That's not a natural occurrence. And then there's another beam right there coming from the earth. There's the ruins, the remnants of two other ones right there. And there was another one right there. So I think that this would have been the foundation for the mill house. If you look over here, like if you follow the beams, you see a little bit more of the foundation over here. You see there's a beam right here, and then there's some horizontal ones right here, another horizontal beam going into the, but the erosion has, like I said, just done such a number on this place. It's kind of sad. This is all that's left. They did find, like I said, 2 millstones. I don't know if they found the water wheel, but so it's my theory that there was a millway coming, or mill run, I think it's called, or it could be a sluiceway, coming from the mill pond. And that the water wheel, I believe, so I believe this was the foundation of the mill house right here. And then the wheel might have been like right here or something, I don't know. Alright, turning around to go back to the trail. A little bit of a steep little downhill. And I think it's best just to run down it. And then from here you're just going to sort of hug the creek until you come to the point where you cross it. And this creek, we've had a pretty serious drought here in the fall of 2025, but it's still up and running, so I'm thinking it must be spring fed. There's another little slot canyon here. We'll get a better view of it in just a minute. It must be sourced by a spring, because it always seems to have a little bit of water in it, even though we're going through this horrible drought right now. Okay. Now, this is the little bridge that's the trickiest to cross because there's nothing to hold on to. Let me see if I can keep filming while I do this. Hopefully I don't fall in. It's pretty sturdy. That one is a lot more sturdier than that one, but it's fun. And then you cross over, and again you're just going to stay along the creek pretty much. Here's that first little trickle, little cascade. Just a mini slot canyon that makes a little nice little cascade, little noise. Then the trail, you keep going that way on the trail, but if you come over here this way, closer to the creek, you can get a better view of the mini slot canyons, the ones that are making the cool noise that we saw earlier. The mini slot canyons, I think that's what they're called. They're made from all the erosion. And we are approaching the ruins themselves. So we were just up there a little bit ago. And now we're actually at the ruins. So these are all just downed trees. Not part of the ruins, I don't think. You do have to climb through those. So there's the first beam coming from the earth. There's the second beam. And then there's one more over there. And that's where it was coming out from. The foundation was coming out from the earth that we saw. Here, let's get it. Here's the little viewing area. Just gonna slip in here. Yeah, you can come down here and so if you don't feel like doing a hike, you can just come down the little path. It's not that bad at all. I mean, it is a little bit rooty right here. It's not accessible, but this is probably the most challenging part right here. The rest of it's pretty easy peasy. So I think I'll tell you a little bit more about Colonel Robert Butler. So after he became the ward of Andrew Jackson, I don't know if I said that or not. Okay, so yeah, Thomas Butler was Robert Butler's father, and he passed away, and there was nobody to take care of the kids. So he asked Andrew Jackson, who he was fighting under during Andrew Jackson's military days, and he said, yeah, I'll take him in. So Robert Butler and his siblings became the wards of Andrew Jackson, and this is still back when Jackson was in Tennessee. But Robert Butler fought alongside Jackson in the Battle of 18. No, not the Battle of 18. The Battle of New Orleans. And I think that he assisted Jackson and also in some other ones too, like the Seminole Wars in Florida. He was his right-hand man. He handled all of his legal documents. And okay, we're gonna cross. I mean, we're not gonna cross this bridge just yet, but it's off to the side. We're gonna end up there to do the full loop. So, Florida became a state in 1845. Before it did, Jackson was briefly the territorial governor. Long before that, I think that was 1821. Anyway, so when Florida became a state, Robert Butler, or Colonel Robert Butler, I guess, because he was still as he was referred to, because he fought in the wars. He became Florida's first surveyor general. So what that means was he was responsible for drawing up the prime meridian, which, by the way, if you go to Cascades Park in Tallahassee, you can actually go stand on the prime meridian. It's the line of demarcation in Florida. So anything to the south, south, north, east, and west of it was just drawing up lines for surveying for anybody that was going to be coming to the new state to settle on the state or to do some prospecting, just for points of reference. So it was his job to come up with the prime meridian. So that's what we can thank Robert Butler for. And actually, if you go down to the Cascades and you look on there's a list of all the Florida survey generals, and he's the first one. So here we go. We're nearing the end of the trail. I like to just come down here to the end and hop off of it if I need to go to the bathroom. I can use their restrooms. And you might as well go ahead and climb up the mountain since you're here. Okay, so we're at the trailhead, the Butler Mill trailhead. And like I said, you ought to go ahead and just shimmy on up the mound while you're here. There's a nice little area, like picnic benches, and there's the facilities. They have a bathroom there, flushing commodes, which is nice. If you wanted to do some more hiking, you could cross the street, well, not the street, the parking lot, and there is Butler's old pecan orchard trail. I don't know if you can see that sign. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. Old pecan orchard trail. So it's not, to me, it's not as much fun as the Mill Ruins trail, but a lot of his old pecan trees from his original orchard are still in there. So that's kind of cool. So if you wanted to get a little bit more exercise, you could hop on that trail too. It's a little woodsy walk, but it's a little closer to people's houses and where the park staff live and stuff, so it's not as remote, not as fun as this trail. So we're gonna hop back on this one and I'll show you how to get back to the trailhead that we parked at. We're approaching the cute little bridge. Which crosses the creek. A really pretty spot. It's really narrow right there. It's a little prettier on the other side. Just a pretty little tranquil spot. I'll stop talking so you can enjoy it. When you get off the bridge, you're going to come up the hill. Really rooty right here. Watch your step. And you're going to come to the intersection we were at before. There's a sign that says you got to go out the same way you came in. The trail's washed out, but that's where we were just a little bit ago. And then just take the trail back to the trailhead. When you get off the other end of the trailhead and into the park, it is good to go ahead and pay the park dues, which I did. And watch your steps here, all these roots. So yeah, the park fees are only $3, so it's not that bad. And it's a beautiful little park that we have access to. Us lucky Floridians. Okay, so when you get to the split here, that's just the little path that hikers have carved out to get to the little creek. But you're going to take a right, and you can start seeing the warehouse at the trailhead where we parked. So the whole thing took about 30 minutes and it was a little over a mile. Not bad at all. I'm going to show you the way to get into this. We're on Doris Drive. I'm just going to show you it to you in reverse. I'm not going to go back and do it all again. But this is Doris Drive that we're on. I think that's private land right there, private property. Got some cows on it. Beautiful little canopy road, which Tallahassee is famous for. Love it. Another curve. A lot of curves on this road. Now it might be Talpico. It's either Talpico or Doris. Let's see. Oh, it's Doris. It's still Doris. Here's where it becomes Talpico. So if you're coming from the interstate and oh, look at that tree. You pass Walmart. Talpico is right up ahead on the right. So that's how you, if you take a right onto Talpico, it'll take you to the back entrance of the park to get to that trailhead if you want to do the full loop. Okay, so here we're coming up to Highway 27, or North Monroe as we call it here in Tallahassee. And now I'm going to show you guys how to get to Butler's actual grave. So he's going to come out here on Monroe, turn right onto Crowder here, almost like you're going into the park, to the park itself. You come to the sharp curve. gonna slow down because you got a little subdivision that you're gonna come into called Butler Woods, Butler Forest. Excuse me. And then come through here. I think at one point there must have been, so there's a little kiosk right here. I mean, I guess they're just using that for neighborhood news and stuff, but I think at one point this might have been like a point of interest and stuff. So there's a neighbor that always parks their car right here. So, but you can park right here. And you're gonna tromp through the woods here. Wave for spider webs. Okay, you're gonna come straight down until you see a tree. This is wearing what looks like a fuzzy feather boa. And when you come to that point, you take a left. Keep coming. Well, there's a lot of trash in here. Apparently people like to come out here and party. Unfortunately. Really close. You can, I don't know if you can see it. That's a stone. No, probably not. Here, let me keep filming. Keep going left until you come to a tree eat up by termites. Another old oak around the corner. And there he is. So yeah, it was erected by the Grand Lodge of Florida A&M of Florida. I'm not sure what year, but this is where he's buried. Somebody has put some little. We just had Halloween, so this is his son-in-law that was buried right next to him. And so apparently, like I think his family is also buried out here, but the grave markers have since been removed or vandalized or whatever. They're gone, so it's just his that remains. He was a Freemason, and he put up the first Mason Lodge here in Florida. The Robert Butler Mason Lodge. It's really eat up here. I mean, kind of grown up. So only the truly adventurous want to come out here and do this kind of thing. But it's fun. There's our feather boas. And you go straight out. A little parking area. That's it.